Hello, everybody. So, welcome to my presentation on the United States Civil Service System. This is a tongue twister that may get me more than once, so if it does, I'm sorry about that. All right, so let's talk about what the civil service system actually is. So, what we're talking about here are those workers who work for the federal government. So we're talking about those people that work in the IRS, those people who work for the Department of Energy, those people who work for the National Transportation Safety Board. All of those individuals, all the private citizens of the United States who are employed by the federal government are all part of the civil service system. So historically, federal jobs were as a result of patronage. And patronage is really the rewarding of political favors to your cronies or your friends or to potential voters. Hey, vote for me and you can go work at City Hall, or I'll get you a job working on the sewer department, that kind of thing. So that was how civil service system jobs were awarded up until about the 1930s. This system was known as the spoils system. That operates under that premise: to the victors go the spoils. So I won the election, all my people are going to get hired. That's kind of corrupt, isn't it? So beginning in the 1920s, and part of the whole labor movement of the 1900s really saw a push to get qualified individuals. So beginning in the 1930s, we started passing federal laws that mandated federal hires. So when we look at the modern version now, is we want to get the very best people in those positions. We want experts in their field, and that expertise comes through experience and or education. But we want to make sure that we have the right people doing the right jobs that actually know how to do the jobs that we want them to do, and we're willing to pay them fairly high salaries in order to do those jobs. To get a job with the civil service system, it's a fairly extensive process these days. Oftentimes it includes thorough background checks, and I'm not talking about, hey, let's check with your last couple of employers. No, we're talking about thorough investigative background checks depending upon the severity or the seriousness of the job. Some jobs you have to get a top secret clearance, and so when that happens, you're going to have your background looked at. So we're talking things about talking to family and friends, and they do all kinds of stuff. And the job verifications tend to be very more specific. They're looking for specific things that you may have done in your last job that would qualify you as an expert to do this new job. And believe it or not, they even have exams. So a lot of federal jobs do require an exam. Now, there has been a lot of controversy throughout a lot of American history regarding the effectiveness of the workers that work in the bureaucracy themselves. A negative term that is often used to describe a civil servant is a bureaucrat. Now, that term is viewed as a pejorative by those people who are working. It's kind of like a dirty name. They don't want to be called that. They are civil servants. But part of the reason why they have that negative association attached to the term bureaucrat is because we all know what that means. We have this idea of that person being so entrenched in their job that they're worried about their job not necessarily providing the best services or the highest quality services to the customers or to the individuals that they present themselves to. So it creates this stereotype in terms of creating a negative worker. So there have been a lot of concerns about these federal workers. And so there's constant fighting between the political parties. Political faults. Supporters of a strong, empowered federal government helping all. The Democrats, well, they want to see a very strong civil service sector. Whereas Republicans, who want to see a limited form of government, they want to see the size of the bureaucracy shrink. So we see this being played out in terms of the political parties and the philosophies in the political parties. And so that lays a lot of the groundwork that we see in modern times with their concerns of the politics or the appearance of politics that may exist. So one of the things that you guys have to always keep in mind is that there are 4 truths in the federal bureaucracy. First, federal elections happen. Those elections can lead to changes in policies, and those policies means that you still have to do your job, come in and do the job that you were hired. So you better be able to separate your personal politics from the job that you do. Otherwise, you're not going to be very effective at your job, which furthers the stereotype of bureaucrats that people have. Now, because these elected officials change at every level, the political party's power waxes and wanes, and it changes. It really does. But we still have that full expectation that government is going to still operate and provide the services that we expect the government to provide, whether it's a political party that supports the bureaucracy, one that opposes it, one that might be neutral to it, one that might be trying to shrink it or grow it or whatever. We still need and want that bureaucracy to provide that service for which it was hired to produce. So the civil service system is created under 22 U.S. Code 2664A. That's the actual legal law number that was created. This same federal law protects the civil service system from the political winds of a changing political climate, meaning that it's hard to fire them. So you can't fire them and replace them with people that are more sympathetic to your cause. So people who are members of the civil service system can only generally be fired for cause. So you have to find a policy violation that they have committed. Just because they have a bad attitude or they don't smile or they don't go to the company picnics doesn't make any difference. They have to have a reason why they are derelict in their duties, and they have to be removed from it. So they're hard to fire. See how it makes a big difference, right? Now, we put some limitations on those people who work in the civil service system. And we do this because we're really worried about unelected officials making policy or law determinations that affect large or small swaths of the population. And we don't want them doing so based on their politics. So we try to take a couple of things, and we have done a number of things to limit their ability to have an impact. One of them is the Hatch Act of 1939. This law prevents any federal employee from participating in campaigns or advocacy as a recognized member of government. So that a person can't stand up and say, "Hi, my name is Bob, and I am the Director of Environmental Services for the EPA. And as such, I want to tell you that the Republicans are wrong." So we don't want to have the supposed best, highest qualified people acting on behalf of one political party or another. Now, Bob, who everybody that knows Bob may know that he is the Director of Environmental Services for the EPA, but he is perfectly free as Bob the private citizen to make the statement, "Hi, I'm Bob, and I think these Republicans are wrong." So you can see how adding the title has a big impact in it. So we don't want to have expert testimony. Also, they can't advocate for their own job. They can't say, "Hi, I'm Bob with the EPA, and the Republicans want to put me out of a job." Do you know how that's going to hurt your lifestyle and your quality of the water in your neighborhood? You can't advocate for your own job as a member of the bureaucracy. You can't do that. And they can't participate in any kind of political actions while they're on the clock. Of course they can't. Could you imagine if you got a phone call? "Hi, this is Bob with the IRS, and I'm hoping you're voting Democrat this year because we here at the IRS support." You can't have that. So we've put some of these limitations in place. Now, nobody else in the private sector has to deal with this. Now, if the company doesn't like you identifying yourself, the company that you're working for is certainly free to fire you. So most people don't announce themselves that way. But so we try to protect and we try to limit government from doing that. All right, so let's end it right here. What do you think? Do these limits seem fair to you? Should we really limit anyone's political activities? After all, we're talking about violating their First Amendment right. I'll leave you with that one to ponder. Have a great day.